What's up, folks? It's Matt from Doormat Studios, and I just wanted to do a figure review on this Dragonborn figure I made from Skyrim. So let's jump into it. So the base figure is two figures. So this is the Fyson TB League 112 scale figure with the silicone body, has the metal skeleton inside. The articulation is okay. I'm not the biggest fan because the elbows are single jointed. They only go so far, and there's not much in the way of swivel, bicep swivel. The shoulders don't have much to them, but you sacrifice all of that for the hidden articulation. The second figure is the Funko Dragonborn Skyrim figure. Came out in 2015, 2016. So this project took me a couple years. So I bought this a long time ago with the intention of making this. Finding the right body was difficult because it was a smaller scale figure. It was about 5.5 inches, but it works well with these imported 12 scale because they're a little shorter than stuff like Mezco, which is going to be a little over 6 inches. So this is made out of a ton of different materials. This is real fur, real rabbit fur is what I used. It comes in big sheets. This is the stuff here. I got it from Hobby Lobby, 13 bucks. Doesn't take much at this scale. This was all I used for the white fur. But the problem with the fur is that it does not work for the scale. So you can see the differences. So if I was to cut off a piece of this, wrap it around him, it's huge, it's puffy. So what I had to do was spend hours in total with these little trimmers. Just sitting here meticulously cutting everything to scale. And then you hit it with a bit of an acrylic paint wash to give it some texture, different coloration. I hit it with some grays, a bit of brown, mostly a gray and white, and then this white piece I hit with a little bit of Mod Podge at the end, at the top, to get this laid down look so that it looks like it's draped over this belt, because otherwise it does like kind of what it was doing here. It was all sticking up, so it looks like I'm gonna have to hit that with a bit more. So this here was rabbit fur as well, just took a different color to kind of match that screen grab look from in-game. Originally, I'd used a faux fur I bought from Hobby Lobby. It was like $3 a piece. But the back of it, so this real rabbit fur, that's, leather, that's skin. Let's see if I got it here. Yep, so that faux fur, the back of it was kind of a nettish look to it. And when it was on this piece, it was really thick and noticeable. So when I would stand him up like this, you could see through the back of his legs, these pieces. And it was just, I don't know, it killed the whole look for me. So I decided to go for the real thing, but I'd already made these, and it worked okay for these. I just have some patchwork I need to do with some extra clippings and just glue onto those, clean that up a bit. But for this piece, it was just too thick and it wouldn't work. So these pieces here are real leather. It's black leather. I tried to find a brown leather. I'd prefer to use that so that I could just hit it with a few washes and dry brushes without having to do any extensive painting. But I couldn't find any thin enough. The best leather I could find that was that thin was this black stuff. So I took that. You can see here, I went around the edges of all of these and hand stitched the stitching on here. And that was to just get that in-game look. That's what it looked like in all the grabs I could find. That took a couple hours and some sore hands. Do not want to do that again. These pieces here are little rhinestones I found in the jewelry section. They're painted silver, glued on. The belt, handmade, same thing with the stitching. And then took these pieces from the Funko figure. And there's another piece I have that goes back here that I have to find. It was really small and I lost it in one of my boxes. This piece here, Funko as well. And I made these straps out of that same leather, but you see there's this extra piece on top. That is a faux, it's a faux leather, kind of like a little vinyl. That it had this soft backing to it. I had to peel it away so that I could just get to this faux vinyl, and I glued that over the top of that to get that layered look, because I tried with this other leather, but then it was just way too thick. So I took those, painted those, glued them to here. So this strap comes from here all the way around, and there was a square belt buckle piece that I found. I cut away the middle of it, and it just left me a good square. And I glued all these straps around that. The sword, Funko, I dremeled, it had some sculpted fur. I dremeled that off and then added some of that faux fur and a bit of some glue to kind of make it look snowy. And this cord here, honestly, is what I should have used for like this here. So this is a waxed cord that I found. And I'm not crazy about the color. It almost has a purplish tint to it, but I know it's not purple. It's just really weird brown. But later on, when I was shopping around, I found a leather store while I was out of town, and I found this stuff here, which is a leather cord. It's waxed as well, but it's got a really nice look to it, and it's thinner than the other stuff. The other stuff looks a little bit more like rope. So I used this stuff on the sheath of the sword and attached it to the belt, and I left it long and unglued down in some spots so that when I do put it in the box, that I can do this and get it out of the way, and he'll lay in there flat. And it just has some room, you know, if he falls over it while he's on display, it won't damage anything, it won't break it, the sword will just move out of the way. The hands were the stock Fison hands. They all had fingernails sculpted into them. So I went in with some epoxy sculpt on all the hands and covered that up, and then just painted them to a leather look. Trying to get it to focus. There we go. I had to Dremel them out a little bit as well, just because they were so hard to take on and off. And with it being this type of figure and something that's delicate, especially with a custom, I like the hands to be a little looser so that when I'm handling it, nothing breaks, paint doesn't chip, etc. And luckily these hands are really soft as far as the fingers go. I just throw that in there, no problem. Where else are we at? The head sculpt. I'll show you a little bit about that. I took some of that faux fur that I was talking about earlier, and I trimmed it, because it worked a little better for this than the real fur. So I trimmed it up and glued it into the inside of this helmet. And I hit it with a little bit of acrylics, like I said, to get that texture. And to get it's a little more stiff. So how I have this hair bend right here, that helps me when I put the head on. It sits over there nicely. And it flows with it instead of just kind of being all over the place it helps, the paint helps it keep its shape and just give it a little more of a realistic look. The shoes are the Funko shoes. I had to Dremel them up a little bit. They did stick out way back here, so I had to shorten them up a little bit because he just looked like he had huge feet. Added a little bit of epoxy to the top. That's not the best look, but it worked best with this shape, getting it over this armor, and to maintain being able to move it forward like that. So I had to give it that kind of rounded shape to tuck up under there and then just hold all this leather in place. And I also took some epoxy sculpted these laces here because it was just a flat seam. It was just kind of boring. There wasn't much to it. So I just wanted to give it a closer look to the game, something a little more accurate. The shirt I made, it's the same material that I use for my Batman capes. It's a faux leather, like a pleather, and it's a stretch. So when you're dealing with these Fison bodies, the silicone is impossible to pull something over. I mean, it took 30 minutes or so just to get this shirt on after I sewed it. And it was a simple seam here, slide it over the body. But I had to use tools, you know, my little metal pick to dig it around, popsicle sticks, just to get it on here. But I tried to use real leather. One, it was too thick. Two, it did not give enough stretch or leeway to fit it over this body. Like I had to pull it out and pull down. That's the only way you can get it on this body, because once it hits this silicone, it just does not go. Same for the paint as well. So this paint, like these scars, these scratches, nothing sticks to silicone. Like you have to use silicone paint or something. So I just used the Blood for the Blood God from Citadel and just hit it with it. And then I hit it with a little bit of a, I don't remember if it was Mod Podge or maybe this gloss varnish from Vallejo, just to kind of help it stay on there. It doesn't stay the best, but I mean, because if I sat here and rubbed it off, it would come off, but otherwise it stays on pretty well. But I didn't do any painting to the body because it is silicone and it all would have rubbed off. So the only paint on here are those scratches. So if you made it this far, just know that I appreciate you. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you enjoyed the figure. So if there's something on this figure that you want me to go into more detail about, just ask me in the comments, or send me a message on Instagram if you follow me there. If there's any of my figures in my collection that you want to see, you can make a comment here or on my Instagram or send me a message. I'm usually pretty quick to get back to you. Just let me know what you want to see. Close up of how I did one specific part, paint process, or how I made something, molding and casting, whatever. Just let me know. But until then, I appreciate you, and I'll see you next time.